Good evening. Welcome to our Municipal Council agenda for Wednesday, February 20th, 2019. I'd like to call this meeting to order at this time and ask if there's any declaration of interest. Seeing none, I will move to item C, and that is our statutory public meeting. I expect that most of you are here for that reason. This statutory public meeting is a draft plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment application by Queensville Property Development Corp. Lands west of Leslie Street, north of Doane Road in Queensville, part of Lot 17, Concession 2, files NT 18002 and ZBA 1809. At this time, we will start with comments and a presentation from our town planner. Good evening.
Applications, thank you, for draft plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment for the lands located west of Leslie Street, north of Doane Road, submitted by Queensville Properties Development Corporation. Notice for tonight's meeting was provided on January 28th to neighboring landowners, internal staff, external agencies, as well as the general public. The development site is a block of land located in the community of Queensville on the west side of Leslie Street, north of Doane Road. The site is approximately 2.5 hectares in area. Surrounding uses are primarily residential. However, I will point out that there's a proposed elementary school right adjacent to the site. These applications represent phase 6 of a larger development in which the subject lands were previously identified as a Catholic elementary school site, which has been relocated to the northeast of the subject property, somewhere just up here. Actually, you can see it better on this slide. So the school is being proposed to be relocated just up here. In the town's official plan, the subject property is designated low-density residential. Lands designated low-density residential may be zoned to permit ground-related housing. Under the town's zoning bylaw number 2018-043, the property is zoned institutional 2 zone. Uses permitted in this zone include a community center, a child care center, a library, a post-secondary school, and a public school. The proposal is to rezone the lands from the current institutional zone to a residential zone to permit 36 single detached dwellings and 10 townhouse units as a result of the moving of the school. The application was posted on the town's website and circulated for agency review in November of 2018. And at this time, the first round of comments have been received and provided to the applicant. Comments to date cover a wide range of issues. Some of these relate to technical comments on the reports, plans, and studies received, as well as some comments from members of the public with respect to concerns of the relocation of the school site, concerns with density and some of the townhouses being proposed, as well as traffic concerns. And there's my contact information if anyone has any questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you. At this time, I would ask for the applicant or the applicant's agent to come forward, please.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of council, staff, members of the public. My name is Keith MacKinnon. I'm with KLM Planning Partners Inc. Here on behalf of Queensville Properties in relation to the applications before council this evening for public meeting. I'm not going to go through the OP materials. I don't want to regurgitate what Caitlin's already gone through. But as Caitlin did mention, this is in relation to what we affectionately call Phase 6 of the continuing phases in development of the overall Queensville community, which has been, gosh, on the books, I think, since about 1998, and some parts even earlier than that. So it's been a long time coming as to where we going. We still have a few years left. So, so Phase 6, as noted, is on the west side of John Candy being the Collector Road on the easterly limit. It's highlighted in red here, We have the Phase 1 area that's on the east side of John Candy, south of Jim Mortson Drive. Of course, we have Leslie further to the east. This, as Ms. Graham noted in her presentation, was originally slated as an elementary school. It was a Catholic elementary school, and in what was originally slated for was a bit of a campus node. So originally this was a Catholic elementary school. To the north was a park, and then to the west of that park was for the public elementary school. And as we got further into detailed work with my client and with the appropriate school boards, the school board, in particular the Catholic school board, determined that this site was not sufficient to meet their needs, in particular as it relates to the grading of the site. So obviously as a residential use, we can certainly manipulate the grades however we need to in order to make it work. It's a lot more difficult when you have a larger institutional use, basically a box on a piece of property to get those grades to work. So they were not satisfied with the site, so my client worked with the school boards to try and come up with an alternative location. So it's not a removal of the school site, it's just a relocation of the school site. And those members of council that were around and those that are new, back in about May of 2017, we had a public meeting for what we called Phase 5 of the area of Queensville, which is immediately north of the town center lands. And in the town center land, or north of the town center lands for Queensville Phase 5, we have two elementary schools. So we have a Catholic elementary school site, we have a public elementary school site, and then sandwiched between them, we have a park, which is a continuation of a little parkette that will directly abut Jim Mortson Drive, directly opposite the town center. So it's not a removal of a school site, it's just a relocation. So this, in its place, is the proposed draft plan of subdivision that we have filed on behalf of Queensville Properties. So you may look at it and think to yourself, well, it's kind of an odd design. And certainly I wouldn't disagree with that, and there's a reason behind it. So when Queensville was originally proposed and designed, there at the time wasn't put into a lot of thought as to an alternative use to school sites. So say in the last 10 years at least, when we do larger communities, we always make sure that such things, whether it be a recreational center, an elementary school, a high school, that they can work with a different type of use should those uses never come to fruition as part of it. That unfortunately didn't happen here. So in order to ensure that we could have streets that would line opposite Blazing Star and the one to the north here, I always escapes the name, properly line up. That's why on the north side of the limit here, it's effectively a single loaded road. In order to ensure that those streets line up, we had no choice but to ensure that this was a single loaded road directly adjacent to the future school site. So within the plan itself, what we have is 46 total residential units, 22 of which are 13.7 meters in width, 14 of which are 11.6, and 10 are 7.5 meter townhouses. The townhouses are these two blocks here, which are proposed directly adjacent to John Candy. And then the balance of the course, the lighter yellow is the 13.7s and the darker yellow is the 11.6s. As part of this plan, through discussions with staff, we have proposed a walkway connection that'll connect into the future trail system that will go into the larger NHS system. So this is a larger part of the connected trail system that'll be developed over time throughout the Queensville community. And then there's a little buffer block on the edge here, which will basically be used for grading to ensure that we don't have a significant grade difference between the school block on the north side and the residential lands on the south side. So as part of our zoning bylaw amendment application, we have proposed the same zone categories that are currently being utilized within the Queensville community. And I guess one thing I should also point out as well is that the proposed lot types that we have within this plan are exactly the same as what's being built in Queensville today. So what's being built, what's proposed, and all our other phases, they are the same housing product. Here we have a pedestrian circulation plan. So what we've done is we have identified where the sidewalk locations, you can see them in a little darker hatch line here, and where we have tried to match them up. So on the south side of Blazing Star is the sidewalk, so we've matched that to be directly opposite and would connect up into the walkway that'll lead into the NHS system. So with that, Your Worship, that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions that council or the public may have.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council at this time? Councillor Crothers?
Thank you. The public school's not moving as well? There's proposed 2 public schools?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. We might call on you later.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are at the point in our public meeting where the public are invited to speak. I believe when you came in tonight, you signed in outside the door, and I believe that the clerk has the pages of those that would like to speak. If you didn't fill out a sheet, when we finish with the ones that have put a request in to speak, I'll ask if there's anybody else that would like to speak. So if you think of something while someone else is talking, if you just wait until the end of all those speakers, then I'll ask for others at that time. Mr. Clerk, please.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, the first speaker is S. Benk, 81 Ben Sinclair.
Well, good evening, Your Worship.
Welcome. Good to
and
have you
Council.
with us tonight.
Thank you very much for having us this evening. This is a great platform, and it really shows that we are part of the community and we have a say.
You are very much a part of the community and you do have a say. I will allow about 5 minutes and I'll let you know when it's time to wrap up. And if you don't get through it all, you can come back again.
Wonderful, thank you. So I am glad to see that the schools will be built, as we've seen with the Queensville Public School, which was built back in 1921. It does appear to be in conditions in which I wouldn't want my child to attend. People are studying in portables and whatnot. However, I am concerned with the move and do oppose the move, as this will, number one, move the school to an area in which there will be higher volumes in traffic. From what I understand, it would be moved closer to the community center, where there would be far more traffic. So that's my statement as it relates to the move of the school. In terms of the grading and whatnot, I think as land developers, they should be able to and have the experience to handle that grading issue. Now, I do also want to take this opportunity to table a couple of issues that we've faced with the developer, and maybe not directly with the developer, but subcontractors. It appears that the area itself has a tremendous amount of garbage that's dumped in the area, directly behind my place of residence, as well as further down the street. And I don't see anything being cleaned, which brings animals and so on over to that area. Further to that, I believe that the developer has not been responsible in handling their subcontractors and workers that were on site, where it appears that through video surveillance, I saw one of the developer subcontractors utilizing my water on a couple of occasions and literally filling up buckets. So I did want to table that. And the reason for tabling that, and it leads to a couple of other points, is that in terms of accountability and responsibility, when this plan came about and when I purchased my house, I purchased it on the basis that I would have that school a few feet away from my house, walkable distance. And to further that, my understanding is, with going into an eco-friendly environment, I wouldn't have necessarily to deal with garbage laying down all over the streets. So again, I do want to hold the developer accountable for this, and I do know that the purpose for this meeting is the rezoning, but I did want to take the opportunity in the platform to share these comments, and I urge any one of you to drive up and down the street and take a look at the conditions. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Through you, Madam Mayor, your next speaker is Jay Ferrante, 57 Clifford Fairbarn Drive.
Welcome. Good to have you with us tonight.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, everyone. So we're pretty much saying the same thing without, we don't have a garbage issue. I'm appalled that he's having that issue. We are very upset with this. We bought on a quiet street, Clifford Fairbarn. It is not a through street. We came from a through street from a very busy part of Newmarket. We moved to this part of town to have a dead-end street, sort of say, and the school being literally a stone's throw away, in which our 2 young children can walk to school. This is moving it to the other side of the development, which would pretty much, the kids would have to facilitate either a bus or a much longer walk. And with that being said, it's moving it to it's moving it to a higher, there's going to be more traffic there, so the kids will not be as safe there, we don't think. We're honestly not happy with this, and probably will end up moving if this goes through, in which the plans have changed. And I think that's it for now. That's about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, your next speaker is M. Exu from 9 William Luck Avenue.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
You put your microphone down just a little bit, and you have about 5 minutes, and I'll let you know. And if you want to come back again, you can come back again.
Yeah, I just want to clarify is there is a build before the map is 1 park and 2 school, 1 public, 1 Catholic. So right now it's only remove the Catholic, or they remove all the things.
Remove the Catholic school. The public school is going
Still
to
over
remain
there.
in the same place.
And
Yes.
the parks. Yeah, my concern is for developer. They said they will build some a lot of house over there. There is townhouse also, right? So how many houses you said you will?
10 townhouses.
10 townhouse, and how many total? Because if the school is over there, you know, always the school in the big street, there is a lot of traffic over there because they need to pick up the kids right, and for the school hours. And if there is a high volume of the resident over there, there is townhouse, there is a limited parking over there. Sometimes their school, they drop the kids, have a meeting, they will park all over the street. If they still build a lot of house over there, I don't think it's good for the traffic. There are very traffic to stack all the kids to drop in the school at that time, right? Because if they reconsider, I think they reconsider build not too much house over there, or because they planned before is another school, right? They won't be like the residents, so many traffic, all the people over there. There's some concern about that. Because, and the one we bought the house, their developer, they said it's the school over there, right? And also I disappointed they removed them. I think one day before the plan, they have to deal with the school, how they build there, why there is already phase 2 or then they said remove a higher place. They mess up all the plans. So I want the builder to consider that. And also, I think our builder is built so slow compared to other, because we bought there, and also compared to Sharon, they have all the park and all the school they already done, but we are so slow. Yeah, from the map we can see all the things is very slow. I live there already 2 years. The park is even even I can't see anything because kids over there, they have no place to play. All is construction truck, all everything. Yeah, I want to push them builder to do the community things like park faster, and also I think they should reconsider about the school side. If they move, I suggest not move too far. Maybe the other street. Why they move? Then why now they remove some residential to build a school? Just the other opposite, the close to the public school, the street. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, those are all the residents that have indicated that they wish to speak on the sheets. If there's anybody else, you'll have to ask them.
If there's anyone else that would like to speak now, you're most welcome to. If you'd come up to the microphone, give us your name and your address, and the same as the other residents, about 5 minutes.
Hi, good evening. My name is Diego, 54 Ben Sinclair Avenue.
Welcome. Good to
Thank
have
you.
you here tonight.
Thank you. So I just briefly want to echo what my neighbors have concern with. I'm also a family of 5. I have 3 kids under the age of 4, which I moved to the area just about 2 months ago, and I was hoping that this was going to be an easy walk for my kids to go to the Catholic school. That's just my statement about that. Also, with regards to the Catholic Church, sorry. So about the Catholic Church just voiding this land or rejecting the land due to grading, I don't think that's sufficient reason. I know that the area has a steep slope, but couldn't be a retainable accommodated or like some grading? It's not fully developed. There's no much construction going on, so I'm pretty sure they can probably bring some grading to be done, and maybe some of those piles to be relocated somewhere else. Also, I'd like to point out that the existing pile that is facing on that collector road, there wasn't any during the summertime. There's a lot of the dust that goes into the properties. So I'm very close to this land. There was never seeding or some kind of erosion control. So that's about that. And thank you.
Thank you very much. So when we're finished having the speakers, I'm going to ask the consultant or agent for the developer to come back up. I see he's writing some notes and hope he can answer some of the questions. So anyone else that would like to speak? Anyone else? Last chance. I will say that if you get home and you think about something else that you should have said, or perhaps you felt you should have gotten up and you just didn't, please put it in writing and email it to us, or drop off a letter, whatever works best for you, to staff. This project will be worked on for quite some time, and it's better to have your input if you think about something later on. I'm wondering if the applicant's agent would like to come back up again based on the questions that were asked, and perhaps put the map up again to have a look and maybe use the pointer.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll certainly do my best to try and answer some of the questions that were raised. So I guess just a couple of things. So obviously we have no control with the school boards as to when they do or do not want to take school sites. In this particular instance, that site had been identified as a Catholic elementary school site since 1998, and it was only as we started to work through the detailed engineering design. They have strict criteria as to what they will accept for grading for sites. It's in around 2% grade. With our engineers, with the school board's engineers, with large retaining walls that were quite massive, all options basically were explored, because we would have loved to have kept them here on this location. And it didn't meet the school board's requirements, so that's when they had asked my client if they could find an alternative location. So that's in the end up where they moved or will be moved should the plan be approved into the Phase 5 lands north of the town center. And just, you know, in terms of a walking distance, certainly, yes, obviously there is going to be a difference between having it directly adjacent. But in terms of locational criteria, it's in a walkability state. It's only 680 meters, give or take, where it's been relocated to the north based on the walkability scale. And in accordance with the school board's guidelines for kindergarten to grade 4, their minimum distance, if you exceed it for busing, is 1,200 meters or 1.2 kilometers. So this is still well below the requirement for busing, and based on the school board's guidelines, is still within their requirements for a walkable location for a school site. So a couple things. I guess there was a question related to the townhouses. So the townhouses, as I noted earlier, are these 2 blocks that directly flank John Candy Boulevard, or John Candy, and this location of the townhouses and the requirement to add them came through discussions with town staff. Should council wish, we'd certainly be happy to remove the townhouses and keep the plan as all single detached dwellings. My client certainly is more than happy to do that. Let's see here. In terms of the garbage, I'm not sure if it was garbage in terms of illegal dumping garbage, or if that's garbage that's been blown about from the ongoing construction of the site. I'm not sure, but certainly, my client has entered into a subdivision agreement with the municipality that requires them to ensure that the construction sites are kept in a clean manner. And certainly my client will be following up with their respective builders to ensure that they are, A, continuing to keep sites clean, and being certainly respectful of those residents that have moved into the community. And then I guess in terms of, again, just want to reiterate that, we are still providing the school. I guess the one big thing is the park. There is a park here. Those that have been out here would probably see that there is construction happening. So the park is underway. It will be delivered in this year. I don't have a specific date as to exactly when it will be ready, but we are targeting to have or my client, I should say, is targeting having his consultants and construction crews to create it and construct it as quickly as possible so that it'll be ready in time for use in this year. With that, Your Worship, I don't know, I hope I've tried to address most of the questions that have been raised, but certainly happy to any others that come up.
I'm wondering, just to make it perfectly clear to everyone in the room, there is a public school that is going to be on that site where you're pointing right now.
That's correct. So just to reiterate on that, so this block, which is slated for a public elementary school, is part of the first phase plan, which is registered, and the school board, the York District School Board, has their 10-year option already on this. So in terms of the funding, they need obviously to get what we call the bums in the seat, if you will, in order to get their provincial funding to allow for the construction, but that is currently slated for the public elementary school site.
I think that's helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just one other thing. You had mentioned about townhouses or single-family dwellings. I think that it would be important for this community to put in the single-family dwellings as opposed to townhouses. We're hearing about density, and there's obviously will be much denser if it is townhouses. I think that if that's an option, perhaps you should be working with staff on that one to see, in fact, if that could happen.
We would be happy to do so.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all the park. Will it be open for use this year?
That's the hope.
Okay.
Again, I don't have a definitive date as to when it will be ready, but
Well, the way it looks outside with the snow right now, I know it's going to take a little while to get the land prepped, but your intention is to have it open for this year?
yes.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Roy DiClemente.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ms. Zhu from William Luck noted that that having the school adjacent to residential could increase some sort of parking issues with people doing child pickup after school and so on. I'm wondering if you can, you said that the single load road has a strip that's been left for grading. And once that grading is complete, would it be possible to create lay-by parking or visitor parking for this area of the community? Because one of the challenges we have is people are finding it a bit of a worry trying to find a place to park their cars if they've got guests or that sort of thing. And if there are people trying to pick up their kids, then they're blocking the active roadway. And if there's a way to create some lay-by parking or something, I don't know if that's the case, but I'm wondering if you can tell us a little bit more about what's happening with that strip of land that you're reserving for grading.
And certainly, and if we didn't have to reserve it, we wouldn't. We'd certainly prefer to put houses on it if it were humanly possible, but it's not possible. But our preliminary grading that we've done to date for that site looks like we are going to have some retaining walls in that location. We're not quite sure how high, but there will be some form of retaining walls. As soon as you put in a retaining wall, that pretty much removes the ability to have some lay-by parking. The second issue is, as you probably well know, the school boards like fencing, and that location on the southerly end, directly abutting the residential area, more than likely will have fencing adjacent to it, which is their typical 6-foot-high chain link fence requirement. So, you know, even if there was an ability to put lay-by parking there, you know, there still would obviously be a requirement to walk on the outside to get access into the school block. There wouldn't be a direct access into it from the site. But, you know, it's certainly something we can try and look at it, but just at first blush, it seems difficult.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, I'm wondering if you have an idea if there's going to be a retaining wall there. My goal was to try and get a community amenity out of this space if it's unusable land. But your comment has raised another question for me, and that is, do you know how high those retaining walls will be? Because I've seen subdivisions where if you've got the school playground and then you have a fence and a retaining wall, the people who are on that street would be facing a brick wall out of their front door, as opposed to a playground or a field or a park. So I'm just wondering if you have a sense of how high that retaining wall will be, because it will create a very awkward streetscape, if you will.
Yeah, understood. Through your worship, to Councillor DiClemente. The rough number I think I recall seeing was about 4 feet high, but don't quote me that that's the definitive, but certainly we're not looking to have a Berlin Wall-esque retaining wall in that location. We don't like to build retaining walls because they're very expensive, so we certainly try to minimize them as best as possible.
Councillor Crothers.
Thank you. My heart goes out to the parents who thought they're buying a house right across from a school, because, as you said, it's not within our control, it's not within your control, it's not even within the school board's control as to when schools get built. I represent this community for 15 years as the school board trustee. I know that there is the public school board has 6 locations for public schools in Queensville, and they will build on the ones that they feel will best serve the community as the building goes out. So although there is 2 sites within the subdivision, it's my understanding that only one of them would be built. So whether it's this one or another one, I just don't want parents to have false promises that there will be a public school on this site, because even though the board has an option on the land, the funding is not there from the ministry as of November when I left the board. It's not even on the top of the priority list, so they probably won't even apply for funding for another 5 years. Is my best guess, having worked on the board. So an elementary school will probably not be built for 8 to 10 years even in that subdivision. As trustee, I was also trustee for Whitchurch Stouffville when they went through all their growth, and communities were fully built out before a school even went in. And it has to do not with what the school board wants, it has to do with how the province doles out the money. And seeing what we're seeing with cutbacks to education, I can't imagine this government expediting building new schools. So I just want parents to not have false hope that this school is going to get built. If you have kids who are 4 and 5, they'll be in grade 8 before a school is built there. Could be faster, but I just want to say if the school's not there and the funding isn't there and it's not on the board's capital plan, please don't be holding your breath for it, because so many things factor into the decisions about when and where schools get built.
Anyone else with questions or comments? Councillor Persicini.
Just a comment through you, Madam Mayor. If there's any way possible, I know we don't have a crystal ball, but if people are going to be moving into certain areas and they purchase a home, is there any way that, I don't know what I'm trying to say, before they buy the home, they would probably know what's going to be happening in the next 2 to 3 years in the area. I'm trying to figure out a ways. I guess that was unpredictable about the school moving, but if there's a way that somehow the people before somebody said, the blowing whistle of the train, but the trains was there all the time, and they bought the homes. But in this case, I'm just thinking of if there's any way, such a way before someone purchases a home, this is the plan. A, B, and C is going to happen. I know it's not under your prediction, and it's as she said too, the councillor. But if there's a way that we can help the community, so they don't get in that kind of situation before they sign it and buy a home. And it's not anybody's fault. It's just the way it happened to be. But if we can somehow in the future, we can sort of figure out, before we start digging, this is what's going to happen. You check with all the schools and, the way you're going to put the parks and everything else. I mean, no, we don't have a crystal ball, but if there's any way that we can help the community to help them understand before they purchase something, would be really helpful, because then, they won't be disappointed later on. But again, I'm not blaming you or the people there. I just figure if we can start thinking about the future. Thank you.
Mr. Webster.
Madam Mayor, I'm just looking at this, and this is one of the first experiences we've gone through of this type. And, folks here have showed up, and it was supposed to be a campus, a school, park school, and made big financial decisions. And one of the things is, I think the requirement, it's pretty old school. I think they put a sign on the property. And I don't know if the sign's still there, if it's blown over, but the sign sort of says this is a designated site, and please be advised it may not be. Call a number. But maybe our council could ask the school board to be a little more accountable. Yeah. Because if they were going to close a school, and I was just talking to Mr. Valchich, who did work for a school board. If they're going to close a school, they'd certainly have some public consultation. And by not building a school, you have a builder here who has offered the site. We were part of the discussions, and those discussions all have happened already. And maybe there should be a ask of the school boards to have some consultation with the community when they're making decisions that are like this, because they're pretty significant decisions. And then it ends up here, and there's no one from the school board here tonight to explain their rationale. And instead, you have staff and the builder developer here. And it's just a thought that maybe we ask the school board to maybe start a different type of practice when they're getting into decisions at the front end. And again, it's not my thoughts entirely, but Mr. Valchich here has significant experience in school boards, and it's just a comment that has been discussed.
I would suspect that most of the people that are in the audience tonight bought a home from a plan that they saw in a sales office. And the names were listed on where a park would be and where a school would be, and perhaps even the difference between a public school and a Catholic school. And that was probably, if you've moved in the last year, it was probably 3 years ago. And things obviously do change, so.
That's the community home buyers information map.
Yes, thank you. So I guess, thank you. I don't know that if you could answer anything else, but I did want to share a couple things with the residents that are here. You are living in one of the most exciting communities in East Gwillimbury, and you know we're growing, and we have 4 or 5 new areas that developers are building in. And it's my belief that you are in one of the most exciting communities. And the reason I say that is because there are plans by the town to start, before too long, to build a pool, a new library, recreation programming rooms, and outdoor fields, all in Queensville. I can tell you that in Sharon, Holland Landing, and Mount Albert, they are not getting anything like that. So I'm trying to remember which gentleman said he might want to move after tonight. I say that because we are very excited about what's going to be happening in Queensville. And if you have an interest to have a look and see what the plans may be, they are online now, and we will be moving forward with this plan very shortly. As people move in, then they will, in time, have all those amenities within the Queensville area. There's also a park that's almost finished now. I know you've been working on it, and it is coming. And I should ask staff. I have forgotten how many new parks are going to be in Queensville. Mr. Karmazin, could you tell me, please?
Through you, Madam Mayor, the Valley View Park is approximately 5 acres, and it is nearing substantial completion. We're hoping to have that park online sooner rather than later in the spring. And then to the east is our 16-acre Health and Active Living Plaza site, which we're going to have our pool, gymnasium, or I should say aquatic center, gymnasium, library, program space, as well as an 8-acre park development at that site. And then just north of that site will also be a park that will be located between the 2 proposed school blocks that were mentioned this evening. So within an 800-meter radius, we always like to build parks within an 800-meter radius of homes so people can walk to those parks. There will be approximately just under 20 acres of parkland and a natural heritage system as well, linked by trails and interconnecting these parks, schools, and the residents in the area.
It's not all doom and gloom. And I wanted to make sure that you knew that before you left tonight. We will work with the developer as well. This is in early stages. And we will be having discussions based on the presentations that everyone made here tonight. Councillor Roy DeClemente.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to staff, a couple of items that were raised here this evening, which may not necessarily relate to the rezoning, but I didn't want us to lose sight of. One was site conditions, whether it's construction garbage, and often even best intentions, a piece of insulation blows off and gets stuck in a fence somewhere. It makes the community look unkempt. And that's certainly not what we expect of our community, and our residents don't wish the community to look like it's not cared for. So through you, Madam Mayor, I wanted to ask staff if we could take an initiative and ensure that that the landowners are held to account to make sure that the garbage is cleaned up. Maybe it's a spring project that we do once the snow is melted. The other one was Mr. MacKinnon himself noted that there were a few phases left and quite so many years ahead of us on this plan. And I think it would be helpful if we explored some kind of dust or erosion control or mitigation. Maybe it's top seeding, maybe it's meadow flowers. I don't know what it would be, but something that would, for those future phases that are not going to be imminently developed, that we have some kind of a plan in place to make sure that it's not just dusty and weeds. Because once the sod gets in, we don't want to have them fighting against the dandelions. So I just wanted to mention that as well. It doesn't have to do with the rezoning, but I wanted to make sure we didn't lose sight of that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Crothers.
Thank you. I just wanted to tag on to what Councillor Persicini was saying, that it is about how things are communicated to new home buyers, and we do have to do a better job. I don't think a sign, the school board sign, is necessarily what people are basing their decisions on. It's my understanding that those signs don't go up until the school's a long way down the road. I'm looking at the package that we were handed out, where it says school on one, it says future school on another. To me, though, that's overpromising, that the chance of that being a school is not definite. And so I don't think that it should be sold to people as a future school, but a potential school, a proposed school. I just think that it should be incumbent on the developers to not oversell that these sites are going to be schools. It's fine to say that it's proposed, it's projected, whatever language that you want to use, but future school, I don't think is a fair designation. Thanks.
Seeing no further questions, we will finish this portion of the meeting. Could I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Roy DiClemente and Councillor Persicini. Be it resolved that the presentation and comments during the statutory public meeting regarding the draft plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment application by Queensville Properties Development Corp., lands west of Leslie Street, north of Doan Road in Queensville, part of Lot 17, Concession 2, File 19T18002 and ZBA 1809, be received. All those in favor? And that's carried. Mr. Planner, I wondered if you can just outline for the residents what the next steps will be in this process, please.
Certainly, Madam Mayor. So what happens now is we'll sit down with the developer to try and address the comments we've heard this evening. The residents who haven't submitted comments, you're still able to submit comments if you want to come in to see the plans that we have currently, and we can sit down and discuss the plans with you. But what we'll do is we'll work towards trying to resolve some of these issues with the developer, and we'll report back to council with a recommendation report at a future date. But between that time, we're open to listen to any concerns that the residents have, and we'll try and address those moving forward.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clerk?
Through you, Madam Mayor, I was trying to catch you before you passed the motion. There are 4 additional written correspondences that were received by staff and copied to you. We will post them on the public agenda after this meeting, but if we can have a resolution to receive those written submissions, please, for the record.
Moved by Councillor Roy DiClemente, seconded by Councillor Persicini. All those in favor? And that's carried. Thank you very much. It was good to have you here, not for your circumstance, but good to have you out tonight on a blistery night, and you can be rest assured that staff will be back in touch with you. If you think of anything else after tonight, don't hesitate to contact the staff, or if you're talking to somebody else who may have some concerns that we're not able to come, either a letter to write or an email would be fine, and they would get on the circulation list as well, I'm assuming. And so when you signed in tonight, we now have your information. We'll be contacting you to let you know when a future meeting will be regarding this. Any idea, Mr. Planner? I know it's a crystal ball, but just a rough idea of timing.
Certainly, through you, Madam Mayor, we're probably a few months away from that. But we'll certainly send out letters to all the members of the public who are interested, to let them know when the future meeting is going to occur.
Okay. Thank you very much. You can leave if you'd like to. We won't be offended if you leave, but if you'd like to stay, we are going to be actually passing our budget as well as a number of other items tonight. So thank you for being here. Okay, council, we're down to item D, presentations, and there are no presentations at this time. Item E is deputations, and we have no deputations. Item F is committee recommendations, pages 9 to 11. Are there any questions? I have a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Foster, Councillor Morton. All those in favor? That's carried. I normally look this way. Tonight I'm looking this way. Sorry. Oh, did they? Okay.
Blame it on me.
Go ahead, sorry.
Through you, Madam Mayor, we have a couple of resolutions from earlier today at committee here. The one was with regards to Anchor Park Lighting Award of contract. And the second one is your council code of conduct.
I have a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Persichini, Councillor Crone. Any questions? All those in favor? And that's carried. Anything else, Mr. Clerk?
No, you can carry on with the agenda,
Thank
Madam
you.
Mayor.
Item G, adoption of the Budget Committee minutes from January the 15th, and that's pages 12 to 19. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Foster, Councillor Crone, all those in favor? That's carried. Adoption of the Budget Committee minutes from the meeting held on January 16th. That's pages 20 to 25. Any questions on those? Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Persichini, Councillor Crothers, all those in favor, and that's carried. Number 3 is the adoption of the Budget Committee minutes for the meeting held on January 21st. That's page 26 to 32. Any questions? Councillor Crothers? Question, you're going to move that. Seconded by Councillor Morton. All those in favor, that's carried. We're down to adoption of minutes, and the first one is adoption of the minutes for the Committee of the Whole held on February the 5th. Any questions? Moved by Councillor Foster, seconded by Councillor Roy DeClemente. All those in favor, that's carried. The next one is council minutes from the meeting held on February the 5th, pages 40 to 47. Any questions on that? Moved by Councillor Morton, seconded by Councillor Roy DeClemente. All those in favor, that's carried. We do have some correspondence. The first one is from the Newmarket Eagles Cycling Club. This is, I don't know how many years that we've had this request, doing their annual Tour de Speed bicycle race.
I'll move it.
Moved by Councillor Persichini, and do I have a seconder? Councillor Roy DeClemente. All those in favor, and that's carried. The second item is correspondence from M. Thomas, Executive Director of Clerico Place of York Region, inviting us to consider sponsoring the event, donating a silent auction, or attend, or respectfully decline. Yes.
Can we just say we support it by advertising and do what we normally do, and that's it?
I think we could do that, and I might suggest that
Promote it for them, too.
That any member of council wishing to attend this event should inform the executive assistant to the mayor and members of council, who will RSVP on their behalf.
Right on.
Does that work for people? Okay. Yes.
So to clarify, we're striking the clause that says that we will consider sponsoring the event or donating a silent auction. So we're removing receipt, and that any member of council wishing to attend this event should inform the executive assistant?
Yes.
And we also
Okay.
promote it and support it.
And it sounds like Councilor Persicini would like to add a clause that we
You
direct
want to
staff,
support it?
that we direct staff to support the event by advertising it in the usual town channels.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I worry about adding something in to support this event because I think then we might get more. It's a slippery slope of how many things are we supporting and are we debating which ones we're supporting, which ones we're not. I don't agree with the additional clause. I think just to receive this and anyone who wants to attend should RSVP through our executive assistant. I don't agree with making a public statement that we're supporting this without some sort of direction as to what things do we support and what things don't we support.
So what I have written down here is support by advertising. That's what I've put.
That's what
And
we
if
mean,
anybody,
not support it in money-wise, that's what.
So, and why this and not something else?
We do that all the time. We do this normally.
we can choose as each one comes in. As they come in, then that's how we assess them.
Okay. I would
who-
like to, if it's assessed based on alignment with our strategic plan, rather than just on who contacts us.
Very good. Did I have a mover and a seconder for this? I did. Yes.
Madam Mayor, is this taking place in?
It's
like
in
this
Vaughan.
area, or is it in?
It's in Vaughan. I went to this event last year. They support adults with disabilities, and it's a very large event. It would be wonderful to be there, but we wouldn't be missed if we weren't. So if we can just let them know that if someone chooses to go, then we have the ability to do that. But it was in, I want to say Jane and 7 area last year, and I think that's where they congregate, they gravitate to. So I have a move by Councilor Persicini, seconded by, I'm sorry, who was my seconder? Councilor Roy. You did apparently, you're up there. There you go. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay, we have a report about a budget and, oh my. Apparently so. I hope you can get hope you can get over that in the next couple of minutes. Okay, so we're down to, we've worked on our budget for several weeks now, and tonight is the evening when we actually have the budget, business plan and budget on our council. And I will read it out. This is from Corporate Services Finance Branch, proposed business plan and budget. Be it resolved that Corporate Services Report CS 2019-01 dated February 20th, 2019, entitled 2019 Proposed Business Plan and Budget be received, and that council approve the 2019 proposed operating business plan and budget with a total tax levy requirement of $22,131,800, representing an increase for base programs and services of 1.55%, and a tax levy increase of 1% dedicated to service level increases for community safety and new facilities as summarized in Attachment 1, and that council approve the 2019 proposed development and fee-supported business plan and budget as summarized in Attachment 2, and that council approve the 2019 proposed capital budget as summarized in Attachment 3, and that a cost of living adjustment COLA for all non-union staff of 2% be implemented effective January 1st, 2019. Do Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Persicini and Councillor Morton.
May I have a recorded vote, please?
Yes. Yes, you may. Recorded vote, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, Councillor Roy Clemente's requested a recorded vote. The recommendations of the report are on the screen before you and just read out. Councillor Roy Clemente, how do you vote?
Yes.
Councillor Crothers?
Yes.
Councillor Crone?
Yes.
Councillor Foster?
Yes.
Mayor Haxon?
Yes.
Councillor Morton?
Yes.
And Councillor Persicini?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Thank you. I just have a few comments on behalf of all members of council. Just take a moment. We are in a critical point in our growth. We have seen many changes in our community over the last few years. And as we look ahead, there are many exciting projects on the horizon. We know that now. The budget is not only continuing to ensure that we operate affordable programs and services for our residents, but that we ensure we plan for the future in a fiscal responsible manner. As we look ahead to two very exciting new facilities, we know that once the doors open, there will be a cost to operate them. We are lucky that the construction of these facilities will not cost our taxpayers. They are entirely paid for by development charges. But we must strategically look ahead and plan for these changes. The new Health and Active Living Plaza, for example, will provide new and exciting opportunities for residents. Not only will it be a new library and community facility, but it will be the home of the town's first ever aquatic center. We must prepare for that and ensure that when the facility opens, there is not a significant operational cost pressure for our community. I know our staff have worked hard to plan for the future, and this multi-year plan to prepare for this change is an example of the strategic long-range forecast the town must have. We walk into tonight with zero municipal debt, and this budget continues that. Our residents pay the lowest relative taxes in York Region, meaning that a home anywhere else in the region of equivalent size would pay more taxes than right here in East Gwillimbury. I know we offer both affordable and high-quality programs and services. I'm pleased that we can continue to offer those services while maintaining both the zero debt and lowest tax rates in the region tonight. I look forward to the year ahead. I know that there are many exciting projects in this budget, including several new parks. Emily Park, which will include park replacement and new trail development. The park will be made into a seniors accessible park, including an accessible trail and exercise equipment. The addition of lighting for evening play at Anchor Park. The Mount Albert Community Center redevelopment, including construction of a scooter and skateboard park, enhancement of picnic area, and playground. Queensville Park redevelopment includes the redevelopment of tennis courts, updated walkways, lighting, and picnic space. Fleet purchases to continue to meet the needs of our operational departments, clearing our growing road network and maintaining our growing numbers of parks and of trails. Asphalt resurfacing on many of our town roads. These are spread throughout the town and will address potholes and necessary work in our community. Thank you to staff who have been working on this budget since August of 2018. Your hard work is appreciated, and it is evident in the well-planned budget. Thank you very much. Anybody wants to say anything? Now's the time to say so. Did I miss?
I'll just say something.
Go ahead.
I just want to say that when they start working and they're working very hard, and you get all these experienced people. You had all those years of experience. You got over 100 years of experience, and that we should be so lucky and proud that we have staff like that. We all work together as a team, and they're dedicated. And sometimes they stay overnight, not overnight, but they stay long hours to make this thing happen. So I'm very grateful to be surrounded by genius and strong people, because that's how I learn. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Crothers.
Yes, I'd like to reiterate what the mayor said and thank staff. This is my first budgeting process here at the town, and I am really overjoyed at how much staff listened to us and worked in our input that we had, and to keep the taxes as low as possible. You heard that from us, and you respected that, and you came back to us with exactly what we had asked for, and I thank you so much for that. I know there's a lot of work that went into it, making that happen. So thank you very much.
Anyone else? Councillor Morton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I too would like to express my thanks to the senior staff and all the rest of the staff in the town, because I know it hasn't been easy for you starting back in August and having to put up with an election during that same amount of time. But you've done an amazing job, and we are in a position as we move forward that we haven't been in a number of years, and to say that this council should be proud of our staff is minor. So congratulations to each and every one of you.
Councillor Crone.
Give you my, through you, Madam Mayor, to staff and to council. I'm really impressed with what we've been able to achieve. Like Councillor Carruthers, my first budget, and really excited about this. As said before, zero debt, healthy reserves, and we've maintained, no one likes to have a tax increase, but if we're going to take one, let's make it as small as possible, and I think we've achieved that. But we've also achieved another important event here tonight. We were all unanimous in supporting this budget, and I think that is critical, and it shows that there's some real teamwork happening here, and I congratulate my fellow councillors for doing that. And of course, let's maintain this. We've had a good track record, and make sure that respect for the tax dollar is our true North Star. Thank you.
Councillor Roy DiClemente.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is my 9th budget process, and as always, I'm impressed with the fact that I think it's a tremendous achievement that we have the lowest relative taxes, that we have no debt, and we have money in the bank. I want to thank staff for exercising their mental and fiscal muscles. They've been creative and innovative and responsive, and it shows in the results that we have tonight. I think that we can be proud of the fact that we have demonstrated responsible management of public dollars. We're continuing to deliver high-quality programs and services, and we're planning for the future to continue to build a thriving community. And it's no doubt that, in my mind anyway, that EG is the place to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, item K is resolutions, and we have none before us tonight. L is bylaws, none at this time. Other business, is there any other business to come before us tonight? Seeing none, we have a confirming bylaw. I have a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Roy DiClemente, Councillor Crone, all those in favor, that's carried. And an adjournment tonight at 8:08. Councillor Crothers, Councillor Persichini, all those in favor, that carried. Thank you very much.